Well, all right. We're back again on the J Talks Today's relationship show with Miss Debbie.
Woohoo! Hello, 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 hello. How is everybody on today? Jay, we back again to do another topic.
To do another topic.
On relationships.
On relationships.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And any connection you have with another person is a relationship. So we're not just talking about, dating, married. So, you have family relationships, brothers, that kind of relationship. And so this applies to all relationships. Okay.
Right.
Some more than others, Jay.
Some more than others. Well, the relationship topic we're going to be talking about today is, do we place roles or make excuses for people to be who they are?
I've been waiting on this.
I've been waiting on this
topic. Yeah, or do we make excuses for people to be who they are?
To be who they are.
I'm sorry to tell you the bad news. Amen. To all you, at some point in time in our lives, somewhere, if you're honest with yourself, you have made an excuse for somebody that you were in a relationship with. Now, we said that a relationship is not necessarily husband and wife, man and one, boyfriend and girlfriend, but it can be a relationship with your cousin, your brother, your sister. But yes. I can say, well, put it this way. Personally, for me, yes, I have.
Oh.
Yes, I have. I can earnestly answer that question as a resounding yes, I have. Oh. And because I have done that, Jay, it's been to the detriment, of that person or the relationship, or when the confusion does come, because it's coming. And then we're going to talk about a lot of reasons why we don't, address those things that cause the relationship to get that way, because a lot of times I think we just don't want to make the waves. You just don't want to be the one to have to address what the issue is.
Oh.
Because you don't know. I mean, especially if you know them and you're in a relationship with them, whether it be in a cousin or brother, you know their character. So you have to try to figure out a way to handle it. And then in most cases, people don't address, whatever the problem is or whatever the issue is, because for the fact you already know 9 times out of 10, most likely the person is not going to receive it well.
No, they won't receive it.
Most of the time. And then it depends on how you say it too. So now it goes to this factor. So it's not what you say, but how you say it. And so when you're talking to someone about an issue or fault or whatever you see that could be considered as a wrong, you have to know in a way, you have to have it said in a way. Because they probably gonna already get upset about it, But I think it comes down to how you say it, how you address it.
Okay, all right, yeah. How you talk to a person, that what we call tact. Does like they say, you get more of a better response with, serving sweetness and milk and honey and all that. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to change the situation.
Yeah.
But you'll get a better response. And so yeah, I agree with you. That
make those excuses for them.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, at some time, I say if you were able to live past the age of 12, 15, where children, youth, or their mind is really in that molding into the more adult thinking area, because we have some kids nowadays, youth, this is not really off the topic, youth that are actually the IQs are stronger than the adults,
yes,
and
yes.
they're more realistic about today's
Mhm.
life. They sit there and tell you about a bunch of stuff in the real world, and a
Mhm.
lot of parents just be totally lost.
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know, so um, I'm just saying that I just put it like 12, 15, because kids, youth now are really maturing a lot
Absolutely.
faster
Yes.
in thoughts. I'm
Mhm.
not saying they're being more responsible. I'm just saying maturing in their thoughts
Mhm.
about life. So, um, yeah, somewhere along the line, we have
Yeah.
done that, and there's a couple of things I like to give some areas just to kind of help somebody that might be out there. And if you are a listener right now on our live show, we encourage and invite you to call in and share some of your
Absolutely.
views on what you might have to put input on this. You
Mhm.
know, and which the number is on the screen. It's 931-220-7063. It's on all our media formats. What the call in number is, and we'll put you right on our live show.
Yes.
Let you voice yourself. Because we want
Mhm.
to hear some of our audience
Absolutely, Jay.
views. Okay,
Absolutely.
but we're gonna talk anyway.
Yeah, we gonna talk
We're
anyway.
gonna we're
Yeah,
gonna
well, yeah. Oh,
well,
yeah.
yeah.
So do we?
Mm,
We do
mm.
make excuses.
Yeah, we do make excuses,
Oh
and
boy.
so here's some just to help our audience broaden their mind as they think, because sometimes we get to where we only isolated to a few little things.
Mhm.
Okay, here's you know somebody is sleeps on the wrong side of the bed, as we say it,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
or has a bad night of sleep. They just
Mhm.
restless and all that, and they get up and they're complaining and they getting on your nerves.
Yes. Yeah.
Some people even use the B word,
Right.
which is
Mhm.
similar to itchy, but they,
Mhm. Mhm.
uh,
Mhm. Right.
but so they get on your nerves. They're aggravating. They just pressing you. They done turn into drama queens and kings, and they put it on the reasoning that they didn't get enough sleep.
Right.
All right. And many times, I use them because this one is so frequent in life. I mean, it's just enormously a regular practice. This example, and we as people tend to accept that one
Mhm.
so easily,
So easy. Yeah.
so very, very easily, that this person is getting on your nerves, and you will agree with them. They'll sit there and tell you, I ain't get much sleep last night. So if I'm getting on your nerves, just excuse me. And we'll turn around. Well, yeah, I know you didn't get much sleep last night. I know you don't mean what you say. So I can overlook that and all that. However, okay. However, all right, y'all know we keep it real on this J talk. On this talk. All right. Um. First, let's review this. Let's take this to court. All
Okay,
right.
Jay. All
Okay.
right.
All right. We have the
Mm-mm-mm.
defense side and we have the prosecutor on this case. The defense is putting out there that you cannot bring a charge to this person because they didn't get much sleep, and that affects the body, which affects the mind. So if the body's tired, the mind is tired. Mind can't think
Right.
right. Mind can't act right.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right. So after the defense has presented this case, all right. Um, Here comes the prosecutor. Prosecutor says Well, okay. Um, if their mind is affected, must be that it is periodical, that it's affected at some point and not others. And which point is it when it's insane and not, and the point when it is sane? Which point is it when it's rational, and which point is it irrational? Because if you cannot distinct a factor of period or period of time, then that means there's a problem of psychosis. Um, and sometimes that presents it as split personality, that you don't know what the other side of your going on is doing. Okay, but here's a key piece of evidence under forensic science. All right, after it's been looked at and tested, we find that by the defendant's own testimony, they made a statement saying that they know that they were doing what they were doing, and to excuse them for because they didn't get much sleep, had a restless sleep, toss and turn. So if they do it, forgive them. So we have an account of this person making an acknowledgement that it wasn't done in a state of being totally lost of insanity. It was done in a state of sanity, because they knew it was even predestinated. Premeditated and predestinated. Both of them. Predestinated and premeditated. Yeah.
So,
So and I see the defense keep jumping up trying to object, but thank you, Judge. Thank you, Judge, for overruling that. Thank you, Judge. So anyway, the judge want to see where it's going. I mean, yeah, that's the people out there. They want to see where it's going, right?
Jay.
So, so now the prosecutor is now saying, okay, it was premeditated, it was predestinated, it was pre-imagined, it was pre-aware. All right. They knew what was going to take place. They knew when it was taking place what was going on. So, all right. Then that leads to the same case of the case versus serial killer versus the state. Okay. That there's just like the serial killer or person with a gun, they know the gun is in their hand. They tell you that if they shoot you, please forgive them because the gun is in their hand. All right? All right? They tell you that if they shoot you, to forgive them because the gun is in their hand.
And they ain't mean to.
And they didn't mean to.
Right? How far you gonna go with this?
Right. So
yeah, okay.
So when they shoot you, are you still gonna say that you're gonna still give them the excuse? Oh, baby, I know you didn't mean to shoot me because I know if that gun wasn't in your hand, you wouldn't have shot me. But and because you told me before you shot me that to excuse me, if because the gun's in your hand, if you shoot me, you need to excuse me. All right.
Oh.
And the prosecutor rests his case.
Oh my God. Oh, okay, Jay. So all of that was look a perfect argument. Thank you.
All of that is to go to say that if that person has acknowledged what they're doing or what they might do, because here's the key thing: just like the person with the gun, they have a choice. And they do not, if they're aware of the situation, they have a choice to either pull the trigger and let it go or not.
Right.
So if they don't care enough as to whether to pull the trigger or not, that is a pure sign, all right? Because they, like person get up, they have a choice. They know it, especially if it ain't the first time, all right? And they come up and they say that forgive them because I might do this and I might do this. I might get up. No, that person wanted to shoot you. Okay, wanted to shoot you. That person didn't care about shooting you. Okay, all right, all right. So, it would have been better for the person with the gun to go out if they know they just gonna lose control, to go out in an open field somewhere and just shoot at things that don't, like a tree. Just do target practice with some cans, just like a person who knows they might be argumentative and all that, and they say it's better that they go out, away from the people, go outside and talk to yourself, and just have an open argument and fuss with yourself, all right? Because you have a choice.
You have a choice. Yeah. And Jay, and and to say that, and we have to just really be real with ourselves as to those relationships that are around us that we're in, and how we have to be careful because we could be the ones that's actually edging that kind of attitude on. And what I mean by that is that and one of the things that I thought about as we were discussing, telling me what today's topic was, for the show, in the instance of a relationship, man and a woman, relationship, and you meet the guy, y'all start dating and eventually go out and become man and woman and things like that. And so you're in this relationship with him, and a year, a couple of years and went by, 5 years, 7 years, y'all done had children and all this, and then you ready, been saying, okay, well, if we gonna be together, let's get married, and he's saying what he's been telling you from the beginning. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And then of course y'all have the conversation. Well, when you think you gonna be, and what is it gonna take, and that type of thing. Well, I'll let you know. Why you want to mess this up? Some of that stuff. Men say, oh, why you want to mess this up? Everything is all right. Why you want to, why you want to break this up? So are we as women? Do we make excuses for? And then if you're firm as to what you want in your relationship, stand on that, is what I'm saying. But now, do we make excuses for them? Yes. Because you didn't allow the time to go by, whether it's 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, and you've been ready to want to make that commitment, but he's still not ready after all of this time. You allowing it. I mean, you allowing that thing. You're making excuses for, well, he not ready yet, or he want to make more money, because that's what you're saying. Well, baby, I don't have, the kind of money that I want, before we do this. Let me make a little bit more money. Where that's gonna be? Where that's gonna be? So it comes a point in time. I guess the point that I'm making is that it comes a point in time where we have to stop making excuses for the relationships we're in. Whether it's a man and woman relationship, we have to stop making excuses. If you know that like a good example, I just talked to a family member a little while ago, and he's he's been drinking for a long time, still drinking as of right now, and so now it's affecting his health, and so I had to have the discussion with him, the same thing that we're talking about this evening, about, okay, now what steps do you go from here? What choices do? Because see, guess what? I was the one during that time that was getting him to that, because we drank together, we hung out together, we went to the clubs together.
Right.
So a lot of times we aid him. That's the word I'm looking for. We aid, those people that we are in a relationship with when we don't let them know. Okay, this thing is getting way out of hand now. I mean, whatever it is, it don't have. I'm just making an example of that. It's getting out of hand, and it's time for us to sit down and talk about, okay, where do we go from here? But first, I think the key thing is that what we have to understand is that in order for the relationship to prosper, on a good term, you have to first find out, is this person willing and ready to make a change?
Right.
Willing and ready to make a change. Now, if they're not, then you have to accept that too. And guess what? Go head on and don't make any more excuses for them.
Yeah. I want to read one of our fans and listeners to the show. They wanted to be able to call in, but unfortunately they informed ahead of time that they would be working tonight. So I informed them that I would share with the public some of their comments regarding this topic tonight. And here's what they had to say. And it says, as the old saying goes, a drunk man's words are his sober thoughts. When people get drunk, boy, they start talking, boy. You want to find out what's really going on in somebody's head?
Yes.
Oh, fill them up. Yeah, fill them. Yeah, fill them up. So, or you could spike the punch and say, oh.
Yeah.
But anyway, therefore, you just can't say anything to people, then turn around and say, I'll take it back. Now, you can forgive a person for what he or she might say out of anger. However, we should always be careful of the way we speak to one another.
Absolutely.
One of the things you said.
Absolutely.
All right. And, sometimes people get all upset and they get angry about something, and they start saying stuff. Now, I'm going to say something to folks. All right. Now, I'm like, psychology was one of my favorite subjects, and you don't have to have a class of psych. This is just plain common sense, really. But I think we as human beings actually really do realize this without any, scholastic education. This is just plain natural sense. Okay. But I think we really do recognize that the words that come out of people's mouth it comes from a pre-thought. I say pre-thought. In other words, if they have called you the B word,
right,
with a sound, audio out of their mouth, okay, even if it was a whisper and you could hear it, okay, then you could bet 9.9%, 9.9 out of 10, if you want to say 99.9 out of 100 percent, that that thought has entered into their mind, calling you that, and they just either didn't get mad enough, or something, or some situation was not presented at the point to call you that. So they may be smiling in your face all the time, but the thought crossed their mind. If you could just read people's thoughts sometimes.
Absolutely.
But since we can't,
glad about
once
that.
it slips out.
Once it come out.
Once something comes out. All right. All right. Then this person, this fan said, secondly, if we see a person acting out of character as family or friends, we should point it out and at least try to get to the root of the cause. Because if we see or hear and continue to let it slide, we are just as bad.
Yes, I agree. I agree with that statement 100%, Jay, coming from the listener and everything. Because see, what happens is that when you let it go, And especially if it's that thing, one of those things that work on your nerve. Can I say that? Work on your nerve or agitate you, get you kind of, riled up. You let it go, and you let it go, and you let it go, and you let it go. But then when you finally do have the opportunity to address it, most of the time, I'm not saying all the time,
Right.
it's gonna be in anger.
Uh-huh.
Then you're going to say what should have been said long before now, but it's not gonna come out in the way you wanted to come out because you're saying it in anger now.
Right.
And so so that's why it's best to address it, and that's why I agree with the fan that wrote that the second point. That's why it's so important, Jay. So very important when you see it. When they first drive up,
right.
like my mother used to say, nip it in the bud.
Nip it in the bud.
nip it.
All right.
That means, handle that thing right then and there so it won't be a continual thing in the relationship with, who the relationship you're in with the person.
Right.
Take care of that thing right, especially if you know it's going to cause confusion. If it's going to make the relationship difficult, try to handle that as soon as you can. Now, I'm not saying, if something happens, today, and that it's something that you don't agree with, and you might want to say, well, I don't know how to handle this today. Let me think about it. Let me think about it some more. Let me process this, and then you let that day go by, but then address it as soon as you can. Address it as soon as you can. And like you said, was saying, Jay, one of the things was, with being called out of your name. I mean, personally, for me, that is one of the things I just did not. Nobody that I'm in a relationship with, women have that thing bad. I'm from Detroit, and so women had that thing bad at that time. I'm not saying it was just in Detroit, but we friends, but each one of us is that B word. Yeah, B, da, da, da. I never, because that's when you say that word, and everybody know, it was like, well, y'all don't even know why y'all so soft on that because it means a female dog. We know what the word means. We know what it means. We know what but we know when a person says it, and especially when we're talking about a men and women relationship. When a man says that, there's nothing nice about that word that he's saying when he's calling you that. He's saying it to degrade you. He's saying it to disrespect you. He's saying it to tear you down. So as girlfriends, which is a friend thing, and they understand it's a code, but yeah, I didn't do that because that word is just always been that word that said everybody got that word. You be like, you better not ever call me. That's right. Know what I'm saying? You better not ever let that slip out your mouth. That one right there. So you cannot make excuses for that kind of stuff, whether it's your man, your friend, whoever. You cannot make it because it's just going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. Yeah.
Since you said that, that was one of the other points that Miss Fonda made. Said her third comment, as a matter of fact, said, last but not least, if we are on the receiving end and we do not speak on it, we become the enabler.
Yeah, enabler. That's right.
Which means we accept the word or behavior, which gives them an approval to keep on doing what they're doing.
On doing it.
Right.
All right, Sister Fonda. You said that, sister. And it's true. It's true, Jay. I'm telling you, I mean, that was the mistake that I made, some years ago in my relationship. I made that mistake. The thing that I was dealing with in that relationship was anger. He had a bad temper, anger problem, and it wasn't a few years that I endured. And when I say I endured, because I stayed in it. I'm not making any excuses for any excuses for him or myself, because I had the choice to to leave that situation. But thinking, okay, he gonna be better. He gonna be better. He gonna be better. And when you and ladies, all I'm saying is that it doesn't necessarily have to be anger. It can be whatever that thing is that it doesn't feel right to you, or that you perceive is wrong in your gut, then it's not right for you. Whatever that thing is, do not accept it, because it's just going to get worse. I accepted it not only for a few years. If I tell y'all how many years, you'd be like, Dad, be like, really, for real, But I did, But that's why I can say now, once you handle that thing in the beginning of it, then you're more able to. I mean, the relationship can be productive if you don't just let things slide. Don't let it slide. Whatever it is, do not let it slide.
Right. And for church folks, all right. Yeah. Church folk, that's a relationship too.
Absolutely.
So we go to church, and somewhere along somebody's religion or denomination, this statement has been said. Where there is a fault between one and another, that let there be two or more witnesses, and go to that person that you have a fault with.
Right.
All right. And it's not just meaning that you have a fault, that the person might have a fault to you. All right. But they may not come to you, but somebody got to make a move.
Yeah.
And the one that is calling on to make the move is the one who's supposedly claiming to have, a level of Christ in them. Okay. All right. A level of Christ, Jesus, God, which your Lord, whichever the one that you want to use, but have a level of spirituality. We can even say it that way.
Okay.
And the one that makes the move to go to the other is the one who shows themselves a better person. Okay? And not mean that they're better as a human being, but better in spirituality. Okay? And so if you know somebody has a problem with you, or even if you have a problem with somebody else, or if there's something negative about somebody, whatever it is, we're supposed to, somebody should be making a move to go to the other person to try to settle the thing. And it's best to take witnesses, I'm going to tell you, because like you were saying earlier, sometimes people won't receive, dealing with being confronted.
Right.
And maybe they may have been used to getting away with stuff all their life, and they finally come to a roadblock with you. Okay?
Right.
And sometimes they call those spoiled people.
Yeah.
All right. There's some spoiled church folk too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's spoiled church folk too. But anyway, and but yeah, we run into those kind of situations. And with church folk, we kind of get this from them, and what, and just as Miss Fonda, our fan who had this to say, and here's what some church folk do as an enabler and presenting themselves as accepted. Well, we remember she said, she also said something. I'm using her words, not fine, even though I was going to say something like that, but I'm glad she said it to take it off, off of me. But we can forgive folk. Okay, all right. Now, forgiving folk does not mean that you do not go to them and you do not deal with the situation. That does not mean.
Right.
All right. And that there's nothing to do with retribution also. Okay. Because there are plenty of examples of God forgiving folk and then placing wrath on folk. Right. Okay. But he still forgave them. All right. But he even put a wrath to destroy the whole world.
Yeah.
And then forgive the world at the same time. All right. With Noah.
Yeah.
All right. That's one of them. Christ came down here and had forgiveness for the Pharisees.
But he confronted always confronted whatever
threw
situation.
him out of the temple.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
showed
that's
up
true.
and threw him out.
Yeah.
And confronted folk all the time. And in the same voice would turn around and say, I love you and forgive you, but you got to get out of here.
Yeah.
If I see that you need help, I take the shirt off my back, whatever. But at the same time, you mean I have taken in account that you mean exactly what you said and what you're doing. All right? And you're held accountable for that, because it also said, whatsoever you sow, so you reap. You are held accountable. I mean, there are many scriptures. I don't want to go into a, I don't want to bring Reverend Jesse up in here. Like Reverend Jesse visited last week.
Okay.
But yeah, we do these things, and I mean, I agree wholeheartedly with Miss Fonda, that when we do these things and not act on it, not hold it accountable, not see it for what it is, when we deceive ourselves, when we make a label that to say, well, it's not really like that, or this person, they were just angry, they didn't really mean what they say. When we do that, you will high percentage. I won't say 100%, but I will say high percentage. Most likely experience that again with that person.
So true.
When you enable it.
So true.
All right.
Yeah.
Bible also says, about don't spare the rod on kids.
Right.
Right.
Spare the rod for the child.
Right. And I'm gonna tell you an experience that woke me up dealing with my child, okay, or my children, I should say.
Right.
Okay. Is that I like many, probably all parents. I'm going to really step out on a limb with this one and say all parents at some point, and probably still are, found myself telling my kids repetitively stuff like, repeating, clean up your room. You got chores to do. When I leave, I expect to have this done. Right. Okay. You got homework. All that kind of stuff. Whatever it is, instructions I've given them. Okay. And then, they've had plenty of time to do it.
Yes.
Probably had some couple of days.
Yes.
And even, and I come back and I say to them, listen how I said, didn't you hear what I said?
Yeah.
Didn't you hear what I said? I thought I told you to clean up your room.
Right.
Why your room ain't clean up?
Yes.
And I would even ask them, okay, repeat what I said. They'll tell me. You said to clean up my room. And then I get to threaten them. Well, if you don't clean up your room, then you can't do this. You're grounded. You're on probation. And stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, watch this. If they still don't clean up their room, all right?
Oh.
Or do whatever it is, and I'm still, and I don't hold what I said I was going to do. Like, letting them read what they sold.
Right.
Okay, all right. Then what happened is that my kids begin to take me for granted. Oh, he don't really mean what he's saying.
Yes.
And he just blowing out steam. He just and he don't really mean, or he might ground us for a day, or I could deal with that, He ain't like grounding me for a month, So I finally woke myself up, I guess God hit me in the head with a hammer or something.
Say you get it.
Yeah. But and I went to say it one more time, and I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute. I said, either I'm crazy, or your kid's crazy. All right? Because I know you hear me.
Yeah.
You even tell me what I said.
Right.
And
exactly.
Why am I doing it? And so the thought came to me, how many times does it take saying something to somebody?
Right.
Before, and that's all. I mean, when I say somebody, I'm talking about from the age that a child can talk.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
To as long as they can live.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Joe. Yeah.
All right. Now, as long as they, now here's the only exception, or exclusion, for a person to not be included in this, what I'm about to say. Okay. The exclusion or the clause is that the person be medically determined as being mental or deficient. That there's something medically wrong with their brain, their mind. And so the brain doesn't process correct. But if you've been medically determined, all right, as being sane, all right. Now the choices you make, that does not make you insane. These days, I'm gonna say this. These days, we the world has become such an enabler to people. The medical field, there's a whole bunch of folks. There ain't nothing wrong with their mind. They sane. They really are sane. But the medical field, because they're so greedy, they'll put, they got these disorders, this type of mind disorder, this type of disorder, and this type of disorder. People accept that, but they do that so easy, just like with your health, so that you can get put on medicine. And pharmaceutical sales and medical
it's billion-dollar business.
Yeah, billion-dollar business. And once they get that in your system,
absolutely.
In your system, it amazes me also about when you see these commercials on these medical pharmaceuticals.
If you've ever taken the drug, this right here, you could have blood clots, heart disease, or worse, you could even die.
Right. But then they turn around and say, "But this is a great product." They have. I mean, when you listen to all the side effects.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to get one thing fixed, but by taking your drug to get the one thing, I'm gonna end up with 30 more problems. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'm so glad that the federal government has now made the medical field on pharmaceuticals that they have to print this. Whenever you get medicine, a prescription, they have to give you a sheet that shows all that information.
Yeah, they do.
Have to. But prior to, they wasn't telling nobody nothing.
About
and folks would get prescriptions, and they would take them, and then they wind up with other
ailments,
and sicknesses, which will cause them to have to take other counteractive medicines. And so before you know it, they're walking around with a pill box.
Absolutely.
All right? And so the medical field is really and instead of telling people the real truth about their mind, they stroke them. I was talking to this one lady, and she uses this phrase as an excuse for for everything to keep from being held accountable. Well, uh, chronic depressive. I was like, well, who told you that? Well, that's what the doctors told me. I said, so now watch this. Watch this. Watch this. And you watch people in depression. Now, depression is real. I'm not saying it's not real. It's the handling and coming out of depression. People do go in depression. There. When I was at a young age, I went through a situation where I went through a depression. Okay. I didn't go to no medical doctor or anything, but I knew I was depressed. But how to handle depression is the thing, uh, and I'm just gonna say this point blank. I hope somebody's hearing this, um, because I know a whole lot about medicines and the medical field. Okay. I used to be a physical therapist, and plus, I was lab tech with the wastewater plant. We had to know a whole lot of things about the medical field, and um, so when uh, when it comes to depression, the medical drugs that they prescribe to you for quote unquote supposedly to heal you for depression, it is not true. It only puts a coating on you to give you a temporary easement of your mind. It doesn't mean that what you're stressed about and what you're depressed about has moved away. Because if then watch this, if it's supposed to heal you, at what point, pay attention to folks. And folks, if you're one of these people, listen to this. If you're not one of the people, pay attention to people who are depressed and on medication. If it was supposed to heal you, like doctors say, then how long does it really take for that medicine? And if you notice, the folk never come out of it. They continually are on depressive medication
for the rest of their days.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Is the medication does not bring you out of depression. What it does, if you're not careful, your psychosis will become dependent because you will get into a habit of taking it with the deception that is supposedly to heal you. And when you start doing something as a practice over and over, you start doing it without thinking, and it becomes a habit,
a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. A lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so what happens is the medical field is continually raping your money and the insurance money.
And yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
And
which
they
makes
know
it
this.
$1 billion business.
Right. And they know this, and they're playing on the psychosis of people.
Yeah.
And so because watch what depressive people do. Okay, and I use this lady. She will always put, well, I got, she was lazy. All right, that was a choice. You either can get up and start doing. Okay. You talk to her about it. Well, I'm a chronic depressive. All right, that's why I don't do nothing. You're aware you don't do nothing. You just not telling me you don't do nothing. You know you're lazy. You know. But then you say, out of the same words, you'll say, well, I'm a very smart person. That's what we got into a conversation. People think I'm stupid or I'm very smart. I said, yeah. I said, so you say you know that you're lazy, but you don't like where you are. You either have a choice. If you don't like where you are, either start doing
absolutely
in the direction that you, all right, because the drug is not gonna make you choose. That is within you. You have to make that choice. Drugs do not make you choose. An alcohol bottle don't make you choose. You still left with making a choice. You had to make a choice to grab the alcohol bottle. You have to make a choice. And what people tend to do is not face choices.
Yeah.
And elude themselves to a deception that the drug or the alcohol or the the pharmaceutical or whatever is going, that if they take that it will help them make the choice, and it doesn't. It never does. It never ever does.
Yeah.
And then this same lady, another one of her excuses that she used for, um, she would sometimes uh, sometimes say negative statements to people, um, you know, bad conversations, and then when the person confronted her, she would turn around and put it, well, I'm a chronic depressor, and so just excuse that because sometimes I be doing stuff and don't be realizing I'm doing it. How can you say you don't realize you're doing it when you sit there and you justify and say, well, you're aware that you do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like I said, you got the gun in your hand. And you sitting there saying,
Yeah.
And many times people will, like I said, will make that excuse. And that's just like our fan said, when you continually accept that, and not be very reasonable yourself and be rational and face the truth, you enable that person.
Yes, that's right, Jay. And it was something you said a while ago when you were talking about with your children and everything.
Right.
But one thing, my mother, was a single mom, and I learned that experience through my brother. And this is what I'm saying, because you were saying, because see, I come along in my house, my mother said something one time. That was it.
Right.
She said, I want you to do this, or I need you to do whatever, however the way she put it. She said it one time. She didn't repeat it. And so the middle brother was told to do something, and he had not done it. Okay. And see, I come along in a time when I say do something, I mean for you to do it right now. That's how my mother was. She was like, not later on, not in your timing. I'm going to need you to do this right now. And it was not done in the time that she allowed it, for him to be done. And he got the worst beaten. But guess what? I learned that through his experience, and my baby brother learned it through his experience. And we knew when she said something, we was right on it, right then and there. And I could not understand that logic when I was a kid growing up, because everybody that knew us, whether it was relatives or friends or family, they came over, they'd be like, your mama mean. She don't play. She don't play. But that's just, that's how she was. But I thank God for that, now, Jay, for that attitude, because it taught me, but somewhere along the line, and this is what I'm saying, even though she instilled that in me, I fell off by accepting certain things from different people that was in and around me, and but then I had to come back to the knowledge of saying, okay, you can't, I mean, that's not acceptable. And if it's not acceptable now, then guess what? It's really not going to be acceptable later, And her thing was, my mother was such a strong woman. She explained to us but I don't know, I think I had to be like about 7, but when you're old enough to understand what your mom or your dad is saying to you. And so her thing was, when we were young enough to understand, as your mother, my responsibility is to be your mother and not your friend.
Right.
Okay. She was our mother, she was not our friend. And my second responsibility is to keep my foot on your neck. But she said it another way, Jay, so just use your mind. Is to keep my foot on your neck from this point on. Okay, so over the years, that's what she did. That's what she did. But now, when it really hit home to me, the character of my mother and the attitude she had was when we all left home, and when I finally left home, when I left home, which was the first one, and I got older, I became a woman, moved out, got my own place, that type of thing, and we became partners in life at that time. You know, we were old enough. She was my mother, but I was a woman. She had taught me, and we would do different things together and things like that. And she told me, these were her words to me. She said, "You remember when y'all were little? I told y'all that my responsibility was to be your mother and not your friend, and to keep my foot on your neck." And I said, "Yes, ma'am, I do remember that." She said, "Well, you're a grown woman now. I'm taking my foot off." But she was she put it in another way. But I understood the logic of that. Do you get that?
Yeah.
So as what I'm saying is that my mother did not accept excuses from us. She just didn't. You know, now when we fall off after, after we get grown and leave home or whatever, it's not because we wasn't taught. It's because we made that choice to not accept that truth from those that we are in a relationship with or in and around us. But what I'm saying is that since I've up to this day, by doing that, what you do is that you, like you say, we were talking about earlier, you enable that person, and then you put a bad wedge in the relationship because you're angry. They don't know why you mad. You mad. They don't really know why you mad, or furthermore, probably don't care. And then you boiling, simmering, simmering until it finally explodes, and then it's gonna come out in the wrong way. It's gonna come out in the wrong way. So we have to just really not be enablers.
Right.
Yeah,
and,
not be
and another
enablers.
thing, and I'm glad you brought up about relationships. But I'm talking couples now. Couples in the romantic relationship, intimate relationship. What we find also with with folk is that um, that many times people will will they know what kind of, well, I won't say they do. If you're a person that has really calculated within yourself, and you really officially and rationally know the kind of person that you would like to have in your life. Okay, the makeup, the character, all that design of that person, and it's not just only the character. I spoke out of the excerpts of my book. I won't do it on this show. The folk, you can go back and archive that about the 3-page outline as to what would make the uh, best, not perfect, 'cause nobody's
Ideal.
perfect. Yeah, ideal person to look for to be in a relationship. Okay, or accept. You don't necessarily have to go looking, but what you accept.
Yes.
But if you a person that really knows that makeup and have come to that conclusion, then uh, I think most people kind of know they're pretty much there. They just don't think about it. Um, they know they don't want to be a person. If it's a woman, they don't want to be hit on. I can't think of anybody that wants to be hit on. I know some people into S&M, which is called slave and master, where they do that kind of stuff. But that's like a set aside time. It's like a set aside event. It's not like you just walking in the house and the person just slap you
But
down.
you know what,
and all
Jay?
that.
No, I beg to differ. And I'm not telling you anything like what I heard. I know women that actually, it's like, as I said, if he don't hit me, then he don't love me.
Right.
But that's different.
Until they get the eye punched out, right?
Yeah.
And it's hanging.
Well, okay, yeah, right,
They be like, that's too much love. That's too much love. I want you to love me like that, man.
Don't love me like you do.
Yeah, that's a little too much love. Now I gotta go get my outfit.
But yes, Jack.
But yeah, but I'll back off a little bit. But I will say, yeah, there are some women that are like that. But I think most women
Yeah.
Most women that that really don't prefer to be hit on, beat on, I should say.
Right.
And so there are some things that could show some possible characteristics.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
And we can see it.
Yes.
I'm talking about ladies.
Yes.
I've heard so
Yes.
many testimonies and
Yes.
experiences, and in their testimonies, after counseling with them, it came out. Well, I did. I actually did see it, but just never paid attention to it. um, I saw it, or I told myself it wasn't really like that, or I gave it an excuse. Well, they just had a bad day on the job, or it was this, or it was that, and never thought it would amount to ending up the way it did, or or dealing with a person who's what they call a serial liar, or um, uh, something like that.
Right.
And they have seen that. They've seen the lie in the person.
Right.
Might not at that first never happened to them, but they could see them being deceptive to other people.
Yes.
And they'll say, well, I never thought that they would do me like that, because I'm showing them all this love, and if I'm giving them all this love and I'm treating them good, then my expectations is that they'll treat me back the same way.
Yeah.
And that can be very deceptive, folks. That one, to have an expectation of somebody that will mold themselves to be like you because of the way you present yourself to somebody. And there is no guarantee for anybody. There is. There's no guarantee. As a matter of fact, if you have any spiritual in environment around you, then what you will most likely learn is, or hear, or be directed to, is that there's only one. Well, actually, you could say the Trinity, but the God, Father, Son, Holy Ghost. But we're talking about deity. Okay, there is only one in deity, because they're all the same in deity, different functions. But there's only one in deity that has that can be counted as 100%, meaning that has a promise and a guarantee. Okay, to never change.
Absolutely.
All right. So if there's only one, and it's also said that humans cannot present themselves as a guarantee.
Yeah.
Why is it that we always place
our trust
as far as the person has a guarantee?
Right. Yeah.
And and we put, whether we really realize it or not, if you just stop and really think, many times in our everyday going about, we have this expectancy that a person can't fall or fail. Because how do we know this? When they do, whatsoever it might be, whenever they do, all right, and that includes you, the person observing somebody else.
Right.
You even say when you do, that the reaction of the person to the receiver of the fallen.
Right.
Just look at their reactions.
Absolutely.
Because they seem so surprised that this person
has done this thing.
Has done this thing.
Yeah.
And that is the immediate conclusion that you put more this person up to not be able to fall.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, Jay, and that's true because you were talking about the reaction that comes from that thing that so you thought was so unthinkable,
Right.
that would not happen or could not happen. And the first thing that you said, which is usually, the reaction that most people say, I cannot believe you done this. How could you do this? You know, and I'm saying this, I mean, and it's not to try to put anybody on a guilt trip or anything like that, because that was, that was me for a great period. And I'd like to say, Jay, to just come to the play on the other side of that is that for the most part, why people, put stock, or put an over amount of trust in those that are around us or that we are in a relationship with is that because I would like to believe that for the most part people have good hearts. They are compassionate. They are loving, and so they want to believe. You know what I'm saying? You understand? They want to believe that this person, yes, no, we're not saying that nobody is perfect, because we do understand that, and we know people do have faults and everything. But those things that we did, because see, what might be unforgivable or unthinkable to me may not be to you. But that thing that you have said, I cannot believe you done that. Of all people, did you go? Of all people, you did this, or you said this, so but that's because for the most part we like to deem that the people around us are not like us, or not who we are, but have some good qualities, and for the most part people do. It's just, guess what, they make mistakes, we make mistakes. So now you got to know who you are and learn from that thing. What I'm saying? Learn from that. And then we're talking about today, um do we make excuses for those that we are in a relationship with? And for me personally, I was an enabler. I did enable, and I can admit that, but I've learned from that, and that's the most important thing, when you can learn. So when you were talking about that chapter in your book, as to, and we went over before. I'm gonna try not to just get too in depth with it, but know what you want. After a certain time, after being in relationships, and I'm talking about men and women dating right now, at a certain point, after you done went through some stuff in a relationship, you should be at that point to where okay, this is what I require, this is what I want, this is what the deal breaker is. And stand on that. Stay right there. If that's a deal breaker, then it's a deal breaker. Don't make excuses for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't. Well, it's their choice. Um, but just listen to yourself. I mean, we got, everybody has free will, and we know it's your choice. And, I mean, can't say that enough. Life is built upon you having the freedom of choice. God don't make you or nobody else. All right. Now, I know I'm going to have some church folk argue that statement, because because Paul even said, it is not I but the Lord. All right. Um, who do these things. Um, so, let me kind of guide you a little bit. Okay. Uh, the more of the 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 spirit of the Lord that you take in. All right, and Proverbs makes a very good clarity of it, because it says, our ways, human ways, are not God's ways. Our human thoughts is not God's thoughts. Okay, all right, but the more we take in the path of God's thoughts. All right, that's what the all throughout the Torah of the Bible, It is sharing with us how to think, how to reason, and the way God thinks. So we begin to take in all of that into practice and put it into practice. All right, so that's what one of the things we fail to do.
Right.
We won't say how much we love God and all, but we don't put into practice all the instructions, because that's what the Bible is, instructions. Okay? All the instructions of how to do the thing, how to handle the thing, how to deal with the thing, how to work with the thing, and how to walk with the thing, speak the thing. If we don't do that, put it into practice, then how can we achieve being what we say like Christ? Okay? So the more we put it in practice, the more we become like Christ. And so we begin to do the things in the way Christ does. And so it's like, when people people tend to say me and my dad are a lot alike. They call me, his little mini me. All right. I stay active and busy and involved with a lot of things, just like my dad, does. And Lord, he has awards and plaques and all kinds of stuff on like 6 walls, and I mean from the ceiling to the floor. Just it's like a museum of
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But not trying to be like him or anything. I'm my own person, but when people see me, they tend to mock at me and to say, I just see your daddy all in you. But it's not my daddy. But they see my daddy all in me. And so it's basically that because of all the things I do, it that's the first thing people tend to equate. So the same way with Christ, because he's doing a lot of things in us in the way Christ. The first then what they're gonna say, you look like the same, same image like Christ.
Right.
You look godly. Because you have put into a practice, a pathway of the same things and the same way as so. So I just want to kind of break that down a little bit. All right. I started to bring Reverend Jesse in here to tell that.
I'm so glad he had another arrangement.
Yeah, he had another arrangement.
He had something else to do. He had another engagement. Okay.
Been eating a lot of donuts and coffee, so we figured let him rest.
Thank you.
All right.
I appreciate it, Jay.
Okay.
Thank you so much. But I sure appreciate this topic on today. Jay. I mean, this is one of the the many things that we talk about on the show, and that's why I'm such a avid believer. I'm probably the biggest fan. I don't know. It might be some that beg to differ with me. I mean, but I really enjoy this show because it's informative, and we get to talk to you, and we get to to be real and tell you about our own personal experiences. And so I can honestly say personally, for me as a final thought, there comes a point in time where I've made the decision. You were just talking about, Jay, that we all have, we can make our own choices, whatever that is, that I've made the decision to be better for me, and whatever that is. I mean, because as a matter of fact, when you get older, it's just that you just don't tolerate a whole lot of things. I would like to think. I know I don't. I'm a little bit older now. I can't tolerate all of that stuff that goes with the different relationships and try to keep it all together. So, in order to make the relationship as productive as possible, whatever it is, let's just keep this thing real. I mean, if you got an issue with me, if it's something that I'm doing, then come to me, talk to me about it, and vice versa. And that's how we keep the relationship on a productive level.
Right, I agree with you.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you said that. I'm gonna close out because as you were saying, you've gotten older, and you getting tired. You've gotten to the tired point. You just ain't gonna be going through the stuff that you and allowing the stuff that you used to. But I also implant this because we have younger people that are out there, and the thing is, and I've said this to myself. I've asked myself this question, then I made the statement to myself. And the question first that I asked myself is, and I think we've all had that question as older people. I'll say if you're anywhere from 35 and above,
right?
And if I had to go back and do it all, do my life all over again, would I have done the stuff that I've done and gone through some of the things, gone through some of the relationships, and some of the things that I allowed, all that, and I believe that almost everybody would have a certain area where they would say, no, I would have did it differently. I would have handled it differently. I would have did this. I would have did that. And then I had this other question, and that came to me was that, and where I had to be really honest with myself.
Right.
All right. Because and I asked myself. I said, well, yeah, I would have did it differently, but did I really have the ability and power to do it differently? And the real truth was, yeah.
Yeah, but
yeah, real truth was, yeah. Yeah, I had the power and the ability
to do it.
To do it.
Right, and Jay, that's real talk.
Yeah, I had the power and the ability.
That's right. That's real talk. Yes.
And
yes.
And so, and the real truth, real truth.
Absolutely.
You know, because this was
it's just gonna help you. Just gonna help somebody out here. It's gonna help you out here if you just listen for it. Yeah.
I had to repent. Because if I was going to get any better at anything, I have to first acknowledge.
Yes. Yes.
Where I went wrong, not where things went wrong.
Absolutely.
Where I went wrong.
Yes.
So I can see where I can go from there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And and so you know, for young folk, and we've heard this that, you know, we don't have to go through the things that we go through, and younger folk, you don't have to. It's up to you. You have a freedom of choice.
Yes.
All right. Because when it comes down to it, trying to be cool with everybody, and remember, nobody put a gun up to your head to make you do anything. So your choices are valuable.
Absolutely.
If you don't think so, keep wasting it.
Yeah.
Keep wasting it.
Absolutely.
All right. Yep. Keep wasting it. You don't have to go through a bunch of relationships.
Right.
You actually have seen enough of them without going through them. you can look at somebody's relationship and say, you know, that ain't what that wasn't work for me. But then turn around and get into the same kind of situation.
Yes, it's about choices, Jay. That's right.
You can choose.
You can
choose. You ain't got to experience it to have the experience.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying.
Absolutely.
All right.
Good point. Right. Good final point. You don't have to experience it to have the experience.
Right.
That's right. I agree, Jay.
So, so we hope that this show has encouraged somebody and give you some inspiration, maybe some direction. Now we're not saying, you know, that what we're saying is right. We believe it is, but we're not saying that we're telling you that it is the only way, it is the right way. But if you find it that to have the perception and have received it to being true, we make every effort to present it that way. Then here's my final statement, and I love this statement. I've been saying it. I said it to myself for many years, and it has helped me. It's not a matter of what you know. It's a matter of what you're going to do with what you know.
Absolutely.
Because you can learn and get all the information you want, but if you don't do nothing with it, it's just going to collect dust on the table.
Here, here. Absolutely, Jay.
All right. So that's it for the Jay Talks Today Relationship Show.
All right.
All right. So
Good
we
night.
out. All right. I'm going to go look for Reverend Jesse.